Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing a valve cover gasket on a Mini Cooper S. I'm also going to be changing the spark plug gaskets. You don't have to necessarily do this, but I figured since I'm in there, I'm going to go ahead and take care of those while I'm at it. Let's get started. These are T30s. Now working on the supercharger gasket bolts. These are also T30s, and I'll just speed up the footage here to make it go a little bit faster. These are very easy to take apart. We now need to remove the intercooler brackets. The one on the driver's side has three 8mm bolts, and the one on the passenger side has two 8mm. The bottom bolt's a little bit of a challenge here. Just get an extra long extension in there and possibly a wobble extension. It's a good idea to blow off the valve cover. I've got a lot of grit up there and bolts are pretty well deteriorated. If you don't have shop air, just buy a can of that compressed air. Now just pull off the vacuum tube that goes to the supercharger. And the vacuum tube on the driver's side. Mine needed a little bit of persuasion once I got the clip slid down. The cable clips on the stud bolts all need removed. The coil pack plug has a red clip that needs slid out with a screwdriver, and then it'll release by depressing the clip on the back. A few hoses need removed from the bracket on the passenger side, and then the plastic holder can be lifted off of the stud bolt with a pair of pliers. I found works best. My valve cover bolts were very, very rusty. I kind of took my time with each, and I made sure the socket fit securely. Also, using an impact type tool on this is going to be your best bet if yours are also rusty. If yours are really gone, I've heard that you can also use maybe a 7mm socket and hammer that on. if your 8mm is just spinning. The bolts don't really come out all the way because there's a rubber grommet that holds them in, but you can feel them release out of the cylinder head. I'm now removing these spark plug boots. They just pull up with a decent amount of force. After some rocking, the valve cover is ready to come off. Take a moment to inspect the head. Mine looks really good for 118,000 miles. Just clean up the spark plug tubes and the mating surface around the head. I'll be replacing my bolts, so they just push out. There's a rubber grommet that holds them in, and push in the new ones. Just be sure to keep track of the 4 studs and the locations where they should go. The spark plug seals were harder to get out than expected. I just ended up using a pair of pliers, kind of leveraging and twisting your wrist as you pull up on them, and they should come out without too much effort. Put some oil on the sides of the rings and try to push them in as evenly as you can. My gasket's still pretty rubbery, but it still was leaking. Try to clean as much oil as you can out of the grooves. I'm going to actually use the air compressor to blow most of the oil out. There were some spots on the head that require some brake clean in order to get the gunk off. Be sure to start all these bolts by hand. I went in a diagonal pattern, just snugging them up, and then we get the torque wrench out in the next step. Before the torque wrench, I decided to get the spark plug boots out of the way, so I put those back in. They're all numbered too. There's a number on the valve cover and a number that matches on the coil pack. Just push the boots down until they snap in. The torque wrench gets set to 12 Newton meters, and I'll throw up the tightening pattern on the next screen. Don't forget to reconnect the coil pack plug, and then also reconnect all of the cables to the valve cover studs. I had to use a little leverage and a flathead screwdriver in order to get my clip back in. Reconnect the vacuum tubes on the passenger and driver sides. At this point, I continued on to perform the supercharger oil service, oil pan gasket, dipstick O-ring, and optionally the crank position sensor O-ring. All of this will be documented in other videos on the channel coming up. I pulled some of that reassembly footage to show you the reinstallation of the intercooler brackets and the intercooler itself. So don't be alarmed that the front of the car is missing in these shots. As I reinstall the intercooler bracket, I'll start talking about reinstallation of the intercooler. Unfortunately, my battery died in this step. Basically, the easiest way I've found to reinstall the intercooler is to place both rubber boots onto the supercharger horns with the metal brackets underneath them, but not on top. Then insert the intercooler on the passenger side first, followed by the driver's side. Now the rubber boot is going to bunch up, and you'll have to use a plastic trim tool to persuade it around the intercooler. Well, that's pretty much it for this job. It's pretty straightforward. About any skill level could do this on the Mini, I think. Just take your time, do your research. Hope it's helped you out. Good luck. Thanks for watching.